Hold on to your cowboy hats, folks. We are back on the Dead Dog Saloon. Wispy playing the Deathslinger, showing up with a triple regression build. Now that is the kind of cooking I am here for. Gonna see if he can find any survivors out in this street, but not seeing anything just quite yet. So we're gonna wrap around behind the gallows and see if we can find anyone else in this side of the corrupt gens. This is... Oh, and we are gonna find a chase onto Spitz immediately, who dodges the shot.
And drops the pallet, and this is the more standard add-ons with the cigar. And it's gonna be a quick shot. Spitz not really able to make any distance. But pallet drop comes through. Wispy knows he can't get anything off of it.
Yeah, this is one of those...
This is a very unsafe loop for Spitz, but he makes it work. Wispy whiffs the shot, and Spitz makes a lot of distance. Should be able to get... Holy max range on that shot right there, and it is going to be the first down of the game.
Yeah, we're definitely limit testing here. Wispy knowing the exact range needed to make that shot, and we're seeing in this part of the map just how strong this cigar is. You get zoned into the corner, and you just don't make any distance. You see Wispy there, you know, letting the chain break immediately, so that tap just can't quite get far enough away where that second shot comes in, and that's going to be a down in the area where the chase is happening too. So some of those pallets removed out in the open. Anyone going for Spitz here is going to be in a little bit of danger, but Wispy not committing to the camp like we were seeing earlier. Gonna decide, you know what, I've got my gen regression perks, I've got an early enough down, I can just sort of hover around these gens. But it looks like Wispy's not super interested in pressuring the gen up top there. He can pull survivors down, as you know, we know this map was kind of designed with Deathslinger in mind, but you know, that's not really a generator you want to pressure too much as killer. So Wispy content to let this go as another gen pops in the distance, but you know, the hook and this gen cluster over here is probably what Wispy's going to care about a little bit more.
Yeah, and one thing I want to talk about as Spitz goes into second stage, Eruption. That's not a perk we've seen too much of as of recent, and I'm interested to see how it plays out here. It looks like Wispy might be playing for 3-gen.
Yeah, I mean, this side of the map is, you know, a fairly famous 3-gen scenario. Anyone who's, you know, played Survivor on this map knows, like, hey, but the Gallows area of DDS, you can get some killer 3-gens, and I think that's the idea behind this build, but I'm not generally a huge fan of bringing, you know, these perks like Pop Interruption. I feel like Slinger's lack of map mobility makes these a lot harder to work with, and we're not seeing Wispy getting any gen kicks off. But so let's say Spitz dies here, and we will see the Unhook coming in, and Striver just slip past him, but this build looks like it's going to be more of an endgame focused build in a way, because if Wispy can hold this Gallows gen and the two around it, then Pop Eruption can stall that out. But obviously Deathslinger not able to get the value from those perks on those other gens in the distance earlier in the game.
Yeah, and we do see the body blocks coming through, but that is a lot of injures onto the survivors of Aeternum, and it's going to be a little rough to recover with the long sightlines here. It's going to be hard to find a spot where Deathslinger just can't easily see you and put pressure on you. And we are chasing Spitz. We want to go for the tunnel out. Wispy with the lunge for the distance, and Spitz should be going down here, blocks the vault off, and that is going to be an easy tunnel onto Spitz. 3 generators. Decisive! The decisive strike.
And Spitz is almost certainly going to have lied. We see this combo, and that's going to be... Oh, not able to get enough distance, so the down's going to come through anyway, and that will be the death onto Spitz at 2 gens, but... You know, the survivors are probably going to be resetting the distance now that they have a dead survivor, and fortunately for them, at least, Wispy is not bringing Sloppy, which we normally see on Deathslinger, but there is kind of a spooky element for the survivors here, because they don't know 2 of Wispy's perks. They're probably expecting a Noed, but they popped this gem behind Gallows, so any hope that Wispy had of securing this 3-gen around Gallows with Pop Eruption is now officially dead, just like Spitz.
That was a good one. But we do have a chase onto Karma here. They didn't get the reset off, and ooh, Wispy trying to get the ping diff, instead gets a very nice shot, and that is going to be Karma going down on this water well pallet.
Yeah, and we have a survivor with balanced landing on the Gallows gen. Another survivor split far away from that, so Wispy's gonna have to commit to one of these two gens, but unfortunately for Wispy, also, the hook is a little bit removed from both of these gens. So deciding which survivor to commit to here is going to be rough, and I believe this gen is the one that Rocket was on. So it is the injured survivor he finds, so Rocket has to be very careful because a down onto Rocket here with the hook still onto Karma could be very bad news. Karma will get pulled, so we're not going to have a snowball as quickly as Karma continues with this loop and not getting ping hit. So Wispy is going to have to decide here, am I going to commit to Karma, or am I going to, commit to Rocket, or am I going to go back to the hook? And if the down will go onto Rocket, the same spot we saw Spitz chasing earlier, so now we're going to see where Wispy decides to hook Rocket here, and looks like further up in the map, but this is possibly a pain res, possibly not. We'll see. Yes, that is going to be a pain res, and now we're going to see the part of the game where this build can come in so powerfully. With the pain res coming off, the survivors have lost most of the gen progress they did have, and now there's going to be a pop onto the gen and an eruption, and with only 3 survivors left in the game, it's going to be so hard for them to keep up the gen pressure they had popping those early gens.
But Wispy isn't kicking any gens. I don't know what to say, but that was a very nice shot. And Karma just going to be taking the hit there. Wispy with that cigar is able to recover so quickly, and just holding down the ADS, waiting for a mistake to be made, just like that, and Karma is back on the ground as Rocky gets pulled off the hook. At this point, it's just hook stages for hook stages, because as soon as Wispy gets a hook, someone has to go for the save, and someone else is getting chased.
But Karma should be dead here. That was 2 hooks on Karma already. This is now a 2v1, and the survivors were healing this whole time, so they don't have the gen progress. They're not going to pop as Karma dies, and this is... Oh, that was... They got Karma for second. My bad. Okay, so... But with Karma in the basement, this is still going to be rough, as the basement is more or less central to the 2 gens that were being progressed, both at Gallows and this gen at the... Depending on how you call it, the 6 or 3 o'clock position, and there's no gen progress on that one in the far distance, so Wispy can just sort of hover between these 2 gens and still have eyes on anyone trying to go into basement, which is basically a guaranteed 1-for-1 at this point. And you certainly don't want to work on this gen out in the open, but apparently survivors have different ideas.
I mean, at this point, if there's nothing at all going on, I would honestly say go up and kick that Gallows gen, just start applying that eruption around the map, so that way you can actually get value out of the perks you bring. But we do see Rocket tries coming in for the save, and it is going to be the pallet stun into Flashlight. Wispy just instinctively moves to body block the base, making sure no one else is coming in, and that should be Karma just dead on hook.
Yeah, we're seeing a very, very disciplined game from Wispy. You know, yeah, sure, there's that temptation to go out to the Gallows and drop your eruption on it, but Wispy makes a decision to just commit to securing the kill onto Karma in basement. Going up to Gallows would have given an opening for the survivors to save their teammate, and we've seen plenty of times, you know, that one window of opportunity to pull your teammate can easily turn into saving their life completely, and Wispy deciding, you know what, I'm not going to risk that. And now in a 2v1 with good gens to pressure and with the eruption, this should be a 4K.
And you're right there. This is why I am not playing the game. This is why I am not a killer for this team.
This is gonna be very slow.
And now we get to the boring 3-gen game.
Yeah, I mean, the survivors are going to have to play this equally patiently. They're going to be ratting, and I would need to check on the perks. I believe Jake was the balanced landing survivor, so that makes that Gallows gen significantly more dangerous to try and pressure, which ideally is what you almost want here, but we're most likely going to see one survivor trying to pressure the gen that Wispy just kicked, and another survivor pressuring the gen as far away from that as possible. And as soon as they calm that Wispy's leaving, they're just going to have to stealth away from it before they get seen. But this street has such a long line of sight that trying to get away from this particular gen is going to, without being seen, is going to be so rough. And right there, Wispy spots Rocket in the distance, nails the snipe on him, and now Rocket's in a rough position. He has to try and get to a good pallet. There should be a couple more left around this Gallus area. No shack pallet, but this wagon pallet is here. But this is a really good map for Slinger to play around those pallets.
And we still have the chase onto Rocket, but while there's a bit of distance, I do want to mention Dunder does have the balanced landing, so we could see work on the Gallus gen. And Wispy is just leaving Rocket, wants to make sure that those gens stay pressured. Because here's Dunder over here running back to this generator. Wispy made the right call trying to pressure the other survivor off because Rocket can't do anything, and there's the shot through the wagon.
There's a bit of a game sense here too, because Rocket was running towards the other gen that was being progressed. So Wispy has to know if that gen's being worked on, Rocket's griefing. So he rightly assumes, oh wait, no, Rocket's on this other gen too. Or Dunder is, rather. So they're both here. I need to go back and pressure that.
Is the down onto Dunder. It's just... this is clinical from Wispy.
And with eyes on Rocket here, on that gen, this will be a wrap. There's almost zero chance that Rocket's able to get away from here. He does have the sprint burst. Could be a 1-for-1, but probably not. And Dunder being on first hook means that Rocket's not going to be able to get hatched. Just does not die fast enough, essentially, as we're going to see the pull through the trapdoor, but not quite, as Wispy breaks the chain, and Rocket takes the distance that he gets, not going for the 1-for-1 here. He will try to play behind this, dodges the shot, but there's not a whole lot of areas for Rocket to run.
A lot of the pallets have already been used, and when Wispy is hitting shots like that, and
yeah.
there's not a whole lot to say other than, like, the perk usage, it didn't even matter. This was just a masterclass on how to play Deathslinger from Wispy.
Yeah, Wispy knowing his mechanical limits on this killer very well here. One of the cool things about Slinger on this map is being able to shoot people through the cracks in those fences, and you can tell Wispy's very happy with his performance here. And, you know, going back to that mentality thing, a good start can set the tone for the rest of the match. So we'll have to see how the survivors of Aeternum, you know, or the killer of Aeternum rather, claps back in the next match.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we talked about everything there is to talk about, but touching on the other side of that mentality thing, it's going to be really tough for Aeternum to come up with a better result than a 4K at 4 generators completed. This was just really good from Wispy, and both in a game sense and just as the intangibles, it's going to be tough for Aeternum to recover, but we will find out what they have for us right after the break. And welcome to game number 2 of our Deathslinger set. We have Vlaz playing the Deathslinger for Team Aeternum, and right now just looking for anyone he could possibly find. I believe we did see maybe it's some scratch marks there, or I'm mistaken, but we do see a couple survivors off in the distance. Vlaz is going to have to make this one quick. The win condition is to kill everyone on or before 2 generators remaining.
Yeah, and we see the first chase here is in a pretty good spot for Vlaz. Wispy trying to get into position to a better pallet when the chase starts, and Wispy does make it to that pallet, but it's going to take the tag before, and this pathing indicates that Wispy has balance, but Vlaz not going to follow up, going for the shot instead, and Wispy kind of struggling to get good use out of that mobility, and this could be the down at 5 gens, and unfortunately also in the middle of the map, so if there's a Pain Resonance hook nearby, this is going to destroy their gen progress and then allow for a camp. But Voss might just decide to camp Wispy in the basement, and that will be the case. So now, Wispy going into basement at 5 gens, with the ability to just sort of loosely control whatever gens Voss wants, this is going to be extremely rough, and a potential flashback to the first Deathslinger set that we had where, you know, Volga had a very similar situation. We are also seeing Voss deciding to bring the Eruption to secure those The Gem Pressure not able to bring Noah or another endgame perk because of the win con, so Floss deciding, you know what, Wispy was right, Eruption is a good perk to bring, but deciding to bring Sloppy instead of Pop.
Yeah, and we do see a much looser camp than we saw earlier. Vlad's kind of just patrolling around the shack, not just sitting in the shack, because these generators are a little more spread out, a little bit harder to just sit at that shack door and just hold your gun up. And
yeah, I think Wispy's just gonna, or sorry, Vloss is just gonna let this main building gen go. Not much reason to try and pressure that unless you can yank someone off it with their chain. It's just too much time to try and go up there and kick it. Too much of an effort to try and chase Survivor around. So that's a gen that's sort of a freebie for survivors. And the thing to keep in mind though is if Vloss commits to this camp too hard, the survivors just pop 3 gens for it. And yeah, you might have a good 3 gen to keep, but you have to do better than that.
that was just boom, headshot. But Wispy does get pulled out of the basement. Did go second stage there, and before the people comes in to prevent the tunnel out, but I get the feeling that Vlad wants the tunnel anyway. Instead, gets the hit onto Zapdos. Gonna try and just make sure Wispy does not live.
Yeah, I mean, with a win con like this, you have to go for the snowball, right? You can let survivors pop 1 more gen, and that's it. You have a tie at that point, you know. Oh, sorry, you get only a tie after that as the chase goes on to Wispy, and I do believe this is a decent tile to play for Wispy now, especially since Voss is not reloaded.
Yeah, and Zapdos does get picked up off the ground in the meantime, and we do see the balanced landing come through from Wispy. Vlad finally takes the chance to reload, getting that bloodlust, not something we see on this killer.
The pallet break's gonna cancel though. We do have another gem popping in the background, and that is gonna bring us to the last possible chance Vlad has to win. And the chances of killing 4 survivors before they pop even 1 more gen is going to be extremely tall task, as Wispy playing this main building, rightly predicting or reading the heartbeat, knows that the chase is not on him anymore, and that's going to give the survivors an opportunity to reset Wispy behind main, as Vloss is going to have to try and catch someone off guard. He does have 2 other survivors injured, but, you know, deciding, am I pressuring the gens, am I looking for a reset? This is a rough position to be in.
Yeah, and Wispy kind of just shows himself for seemingly no reason, maybe misread where Vlad was going, what he was doing. And this is going to be the chase onto Wispy, but we know Wispy to be a confident player on both sides, so this could just be Wispy being like, come chase me. I'm just going to let my team do gens.
The thing to keep in mind also, we saw this again in the previous set. Because the first 2 hook stages onto Wispy were in basement, there is a pain resonance on him. So maybe the idea is, look, I'm going to get chased, I'm going to run to the corner of the map, we'll bang out gens while it's happening, we only need to pop 2 more, but there is going to be a pain resonance coming in from Wispy. 1 gen pops, and I don't think the pain resonance is going to be enough to stop this other gen from popping. It wasn't a pain resonance. So that is going to be the win condition for Tremor, with all gens being popped, and there's also not a no-ed in play. Obviously, if you get to this point, you're not going to get value out of no-ed anyway, you've already lost, but now with the chase going on to Zaph is probably able to secure 1 last kill here, as the other survivors will be able to open the gate on the opposite side of the map and get out. Vloss could still go for a slug into a snowball, but looks like he will not. He's just going to take the hook, and we should expect the other survivors to be getting out of dodge anytime now.
Yeah, and this was all Trevor's set. They were just all over both sides, and this was just a dominant performance. We keep going back to the point of momentum and mental, because they're both so important. How do you recover if you're Aeternum?
Yeah, this set might be, you know, highlighting also how good a set can be for you if your team likes playing the killer, and it looks like Slinger is probably a killer that Tremor is really happy to play. So, you know, a little fortunate for them there, as that's going to wrap up the first set. Tremor taking that dub, as we will be moving on to the Clown set, starting with Aeternum playing Clown after a short break. And we are back with some serious clown gameplay. Rocket pulling up on the Grim Pantry, immediately finding a survivor here. Zap is going to take the chase underneath main. Good place to chase, but he will take the tag. The ether volume, the flask of bleach coming in, just cannot get anywhere in time with all of that slowdown. But we're going to have a chase on top of main now. And are we going to see Rocket getting hold? I hope not, but probably Zap is going to try it.
And it looks like Zaphis did not want to try it. No clowning around here for Zaphis. Yes, bad puns, I know. But we do see... Ooh, Zaphis did get hit by that intoxication on the back end of that bottle. And now it's kind of in a bad spot. Rocket just able to reload for free here. And forces the pallet drop. Is he able to get the hit off it? Yes, he is.
Yeah, that might look like a little bit of ping here. I mean, if there's one survivor in NA I trust to play an M1 chase, it is Zaphis. But that is going to be an early down. That is going to be looking for a pain rest, but I guess not seeing one nearby, so settling for this hook, as that is not a pain resonance on that hook. And now going to have to try and find where the survivors are progressing gens while that shit is happening. Looks like it's going to be at least one, possibly two that were on this central generator. As, you know, not deciding to commit to where they ran off and going to pressure Ronnie instead, not kicking the gen, wrapping behind the main building, and this is another decent place to take chase here, depending on, you know, where your spare vault is. But Rocket looks like temporarily second guessing whether he wants to commit to a tunnel or keep chasing, and it looks like Rocket will decide to go back here. Wow, this is a rough place to chase as the heal is interrupted. Now, Rocket's not running any mangled or hemorrhage add-on, so you know, interrupting the heal is not as valuable as Rocket notices, okay, well, Wispy clearly has sprint burst play he's playing, not going to commit to that chase, and finding Zaphis again here on top of main. Round 2.
And it's worth mentioning that Rocket hasn't reloaded his bottles. He's got one bottle left to hopefully tunnel Zaphis out. Zaphis does hit the vault, does get into that underside, the little ground level of basement. We do have the pallet drop and the bloodlust coming in.
The bloodlust might be enough.
No, it isn't. Rocket manages or loses the bloodlust, but is this going to be the county? Yes, it is. No pallet here, but 2 generators are lost in the process. But these 2 generators were the ones that had all the progress on them, so it's very unlikely that the survivors have anything else going at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the main goal that we're going to have here on Rocket is tunnel Zaphis out before the gens pop, get another down with Noed, and maybe be content with a 2k6. That seems to be how clown games normally go here. Maybe getting an extra hook stage or 2 if the survivors, you know, make a big mistake, but Rocket deciding to not camp Zaphis here, but going to be sort of hovering in the area for the tunnel out once Zaphis is pulled, as now, interesting, going kind of back to the hook? I'm not sure what Rocket's looking for.
I think Rocket is just deciding, I do not want anything to do with Wispy. I think that was just the decision right there. I want nothing to do with Wispy, and given that it looks like no one is going for the save, it seems to be the right choice. It just... Yeah. No one's going for the save. They're going to let Zaphis die on hook. They want these other 2 generators, but it's going to cost them one of their teammates.
They probably decided they needed to double the last gens and then have Wispy go for the pull if need be. So Zaphis does die as the gen progress coming in for it and not able to pop the gen. Now there isn't pop, there isn't eruption, there's no, you know, gen kick perk, so but we have 2 separate gens on the dock. That's rough. I don't know if they have anything on main or anything on central gen, but at least fortunately for the survivors, these gens on the dock and the gens on main are a little bit more time consuming for the clown to try and pressure. Now with the zone onto Wispy, this should be a tag, but Shack Pallet is still up, so let's be able to make something work. Actually, Shack Pallet is down, so Rocket going back to pressure Renato off this Docs gen, and we'll have to see if there's another survivor on the other Docs gen.
Thing that I do think, obviously, again, not a comp killer, but there's a distinct lack of the yellow bottles being used. And I feel like that would make pressuring these generators up on the dock a lot easier. Just throw the yellow bottle down, get yourself to those gens faster. And it seems like the survivors have started to move away from these generators on the dock and trying to get these other 2 generators completed.
maybe the reason why he's not going for the yellow bottles is he's not running any extra, so every yellow bottle that Rocket uses is one more bottle he doesn't have in chase.
Ooh, that was max range, very tip of the knife hit there onto Wispy. And it looks like we're trying to go for a pain res here. We didn't get any pain res value from Zaphis, so it is just going to hopefully be Wispy hitting something.
Yeah, Rocket playing Modern Warfare 2 for practice with that throwing knife is now he can path back to these Docs gens as the hook is kind of close to them. But it's a little difficult for him to really commit here. It looks like he's just sort of keeping an eye on them as he hears the gen being worked on. And it's basically a bait to see who's going to drop off first as when you see the pole coming in onto Wispy in the distance as Renato is the one suppressing the gen. Maybe Renato is the balanced landing player? Looks like he is not. And this is a kind of an awkward tile to sort of play for the survivor and for the killer, but there's a good palette here. Actually, not that good, but one thing that we are seeing with this map is that there's not a whole lot of good tiles for Clown to do like a pink into yellow bottle. And it's just fairly straightforward Clown chasing here, as this will be the down onto Ronnie, who's just getting as much distance as he can get away from those active gens. And we'll see if they'll be able to pop any of them for the chase, but most likely not, because they did decide to reset Wispy after the hook, so I think they're probably progressing main right now.
They're probably working on main, but these two here with all the progress, it's important that you get them down. No, they aren't working on main. We have Wispy here on the docks. Yeah, another survivor trying to get these dock generators done, and that was another pain resonance stack there. And they are giving Rocket a lot of stages. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, but the 2K6 stages is kind of par for the course for Clown, but right now we're sitting pretty at 5 with 1 kill.
Yeah, this last gen spread is a little rough. I mean, the main building generator is more or less free whenever the survivors want to get that, but having 2 gens on docks and another one close by, this basically forces the survivors to pre-leave because there's not really anything left for them to chase with in this area with that last docks pallet being dropped in the chase, so they don't have anything to work with. It's just a chase out in the open against Clown. You're not going to make it anywhere with the slowdown of this killer's power and the add-ons that are spec'd to maximize that. As now Rocket taking the yellow bottle to go back. I wonder if he was looking for the reset onto Ronnie there, most likely, as he is going to find another survivor on this gen, and this is what we're seeing. Didn't pre-leave enough to get anywhere. This is almost certainly going to be a tag, and maybe Rocket doesn't want to commit to a chase underneath main, but he's getting at least a hit here.
Yeah, and Wispy decent pathing to avoid the intoxication, but there's nothing here. It's no man's land, so Wispy is going to get hit anyway, and that is the main building gen completed. 1 more generator left to go, and Rocket is so far away from those docks. But hello, Wispy.
Oh. They were setting up the head-on play, but Rocket with the heads-up play to go ahead and check that locker, not going to fall for it, and that does force Jaw to go ahead and pop his head on. Not going to get the actual save, but at least not getting pulled out, which we did see in the last Clown set. But, you know, Rocket can just immediately go back to these gens, and the survivors are going to have to find a time to reset, and that's going to slow down their gen progress, depending on what Jaw is doing while this is happening. Is Rocket sort of sussing this out, deciding, you know what, these gens aren't being worked on. I just need to find wherever this reset is happening, try to get the down before the survivors can get away from this sort of half of the map where all the generators are.
And we do have the chase onto Wispy. Rocket deciding better of it, realizes I don't want to be chasing Wispy at main, don't really want to be chasing at main in general, and I want to be able to protect my generators. And that's the case. Rocket just not really any gen kicking perks like we mentioned, but kicking them anyway, needs the regression. And all this time, Rocket is just building up those hook stages just one by one, slowly but surely.
Yeah, this gen spread is filthy for Rocket, and I think it's almost a little bit of a mistake for the survivors here earlier. We had seen, you know, pretty good progress on both dock generators at one point, and they were splitting gen progress, getting as much as they can for the hook stage or for the time on the hook that they had. But I think if they had recognized what gen spread they had, they could have doubled and guaranteed popped one of them and avoid the situation. What they've decided to do now onto this non-dox gen is Ronnie just accepting his death in the furthest corner of the map, but even if they pop this gen, they still have to contend with the Noed. They're not going to pop this in time. Jaw's going to fast pull to maximize pressure. This is, I believe, the correct play, but with all these stages coming in and the Noed still in the back pocket, whatever happens from here on out is a very, very comfortable win condition for the survivors of Aeternum.
Yeah, and now Jaw's being chased. The only fresh hook survivor gets what?
Is that a respect play? Did he not see Adam?
I don't know.
I mean, very interesting body block as Rocket decides to just go back to that gen. Maybe he thinks there's a process as Jaw getting the benefit of the invigoration there. And they're gonna pop.
I'm still on that one thing. What happened?
My guess is, so Jaw has Iron Will. Adam's already a quiet, or he's healthy, so it doesn't matter. But he's a very quiet character in general, and his cloak perfectly matches the color of that wall. But I feel like Rocket should have known something was up based on the body block. He should have been able to kick the pallet otherwise. And looks like he's gonna find Jaw again, chasing at the Pog log. But the bottle is gonna be just enough to get the tag onto Jaw. You know, just denying Noed value by all being injured at endgame.
I mean, there's still a haste. But it looks like we are going to have maybe a reset. No. So some call came in, and it's go time on this generator. Ja now getting some resilience value, and having to run away once again because Rocket keeping his ear to the ground and making sure these generators do not get completed.
Yeah, that was probably Wispy on the docks, trying to pressure that furthest gen from this one and saying, you know what, the Clown is near me, you can go ahead and double this other one. As Rocket's just kind of sitting here letting the gens regress, as it's really difficult for any of the survivors to reach that generator with any of those generators without being seen, as they're all just going to take the reset off in the distance, which is definitely the smart play for them. Rocket's going to know that's what they're doing. Looks like he's trying to find them resetting nearby, but I believe the survivors made the choice to get a little bit further away from those gens before they did the reset, as Rocket really can't leave the area because these gens are so high progress already. He's basically conceding that he could easily lose any of them if he leaves. And now the play for him is just, you know, pray a survivor gets caught out.
Yeah, and just tossing a bottle over to the other gen, making sure no one's on it. And it is going to be a full reset of the whole team. Everyone is full health now. And Rocket, he's just going to take his perch up here at a little crow's nest. We do see Wispy all the way off in the distance, right by that main building. So we know where the reset point was now, but...
Yeah, the thing is, even with as much slowdown as Rocket has, if the survivors just maybe leave as soon as he gets close to them, like bottle from a distance, the hit should be enough to get them somewhere he's not going to want to commit. Rocket needs to have these generators regress further before he's really in a position to commit to a chase, and this is probably going to be a bit of a long game as the survivors are just taking their distance, and I don't know if Rocket's going to decide to commit to anyone anytime soon. Looks like it might be onto Wispy here, though.
Yeah, it looks like the commit might be now, and because I believe Wispy is dead on hook, so if you get Wispy dead and manage to keep your generators, that is going to be huge for Rocket.
It's possible that Rocket was waiting for the right survivor to chase. If he knows, like, hey, for points, I need to be getting my down onto X survivor, maybe Wispy is the one he wanted to wait to chase, as now the down onto Wispy, this could be a really good position for him, because even as this pops in now, he can hook Wispy, he can camp him with Noed, or he can possibly try and get a second down, because he knows they're not going to be working on this gate behind him where the hook is, where his Noed is, so if he decides to camp here, there's nothing they can do to say, oh, Wispy's dead anyway. I stand corrected. So They should be able to pop this gate off in the distance before the Noah comes in, and yeah, they will. So this is going to be a 2K8. Very good result for Rocket here.
Yeah, and it's the gate spawns were a bit unfortunate for Rocket, but all in all, that's still a really good performance. 8 hook stages is nothing to scoff at. And we're going to see if Aeternum can keep up the pressure in game number 2, right after the break. Hey! Welcome. My mic cut out there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to what could be the last game of this match. We have Wispy playing the Clown for Team Tremor against the survivors of Aeternum, and Wispy using those yellow bottles, just trying to catch whoever was here in this little building here. And I believe that is going to be Spitz getting caught out, playing this pallet pretty well. Manages to avoid getting hit for a while there, but ends up taking one in the end. And a beautiful toss from Wispy.
Yeah, but Spitz is going to make Shaq help. Is forced to drop it because of the bottle hit, and we are seeing Wispy realizing his win condition is a little rough, bringing the forced hesitation. And what that does for him is, if there's ever a situation where survivors try to hook trade on a tunnel, between forced hesitation and the Clown bottles, you get no distance. You can essentially chain slow the survivor off hook through their BT, and they just die if they're hooked on anywhere near edge map. Now Spitz taking the down. The slows coming in just so oppressive, is not able to really get anywhere after that God pallet is dropped.
So, I did my research. I forgot to look at my... I think we might have a perk issue. I'm not entirely sure. So we're gonna wait on confirmation for that. But I forgot to research what the new perks do. So what is it that forced hesitation actually does?
So forced hesitation is a perk where when you down a survivor, any other survivor that's nearby is hit by a slow, and it's a really strong slow. So you'll see people that are running near you, they get nowhere. And then you have your Clown slow on top of that.
Oh boy, so it's almost like a route for those who play like a MOBA game.
Yeah, essentially. It's like a 99% slow you're playing against the Clown here. And since the name of the game here for Clown is typically tunnel one survivor out as soon as possible, that's exactly what's enabled by this perk. And Spitz is definitely on the receiving end of it here, as, you know, he's just not able to get anywhere. It's just so difficult for him to run these chases without, you know, good pallets to play around, and not able to get there.
Yeah, and we do see the survivors of Aeternum have really good gen pressure right now. They're getting a lot done. Wispy, the only real slowdown here, there was the Corrupt, but the Pain Resonance is the main regression. Not a whole lot here. We do have the Noed for that end game, but with the way these survivors are playing, I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Yeah, I mean, the one fortunate thing for Wispy is he really is more or less looking to get a 3K. 3K would be the same amount of fresh hooks guaranteed, and also 9 stages, so that is a win. So it's mainly an efficiency check. Is Wispy able to tunnel out this first survivor before the gens pop? And it looks like the answer to that may very well be yes, with Dick being cut out here. And this is what we're going to see. Dick's going to go down, and Spitz will not be able to get here. that's the
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Into the Clown bottle.
What is that slow? Oh so my! Even the bounce landing.
He gets nowhere.
Oh, we were talking about Wispy's gonna cook about this Clown set, and holy, did Wispy do some cooking! And this was a premium dish served at a 5-star restaurant level of cooking from Wispy here. Spitz is dead. 3 generators left.
And we're seeing here exactly why this perk ended up being banned on Tier 1 and Tier 2 killers. You know, imagine this effect of the slow on a killer with an even stronger chase power than the Clown has. As now Wispy is on the trail of Karma, and the tunnel out onto Karma into a Noed down is essentially Wispy's win condition. And we'll have to see if the remaining Gen Pressure survivors will be able to keep up with this tunnel out, as Karma does have a pallet to play, but remember, trying to play around this pallet with the slow and the obscured vision of the Clown bottle on top of, you know, the fact that you're playing it on ping is gonna be rough, as this is a relatively safe pallet. In theory, Wispy's probably gonna have to reload here if he wants to get this down. Is just sort of guessing that Karma might vault, but Karma's just gonna take distance away, and I don't think he makes anything here.
No, but we did see another survivor nearby. We could have a possible palisade, but no, I don't think that is going to happen. And it is going to be Karma going on a hook.
And crucially, it's this hook that's right next to one of the gens they had progress. If this is the Pain Resonance on top of that, it is. So the Pain Resonance hitting a gen in the distance. So Wispy is going to know, I have 2 gens of high progress, but I can camp Karma here and camp this generator. And even when I think whoever is working that Distant gen pops it, they still have to work a completely new generator. This will probably require them to double the last gen if they want to pop it before Karma dies. But then the problem is, one of them gets caught out with Noed and they lose. So they somehow need to make sure that Karma's not dying on this hook while also popping a separate gen, but they already know, with Forced Hezi coming into play, they just can't 1-for-1 here. It's just not safe, so very difficult situation to be in.
Yeah, and it is looking rather rough for Aeternum. I do think the best bet is get that last generator done, get lucky with the door spawns, and maybe you can avoid the Noed. Or, heck, maybe get lucky with the Noed spawn and be able to cleanse it. But Wispy is going to leave Karma. Just go check on this generator, and this could be the moment of opportunity that Aeternum needs, but they aren't able to capitalize on it.
It's a little risky for them to try and approach this hook. It's, you know, a bit of a dead zone here. We're not seeing any pallets around it, and they are running the risk of just getting chain slowed. And so, like, let's say, yeah, you approach the hook, you take a tag with the Clown bottle, you still can't 1-for-1 because of Forced Hezi. So I guess they're deciding it's not worth it to even try. But we'll have to see how much gen progress they get for the kill onto Karma. But it looks like this game is almost certainly in the bag, as we saw a chase near Shaq earlier. So the resources that are available for the survivors are pretty limited. He has to go for it and pray it works out, but almost certainly not going to, as good luck getting anywhere, Karma. Interesting choice to hit him through that. But with a fresh hook onto Daimao, Wispy can still go for a Noed play here, expecting this was the gen that popped. So if he finds Rocket, it's going to be Problem's team.
Alternatively, if Rocket is on that edge map, he might have seen... No, Rocket's just playing it extremely safe, does not even want to risk doing anything that could get him caught. Karma's going to have to mend before he can fully open that door. And we just see Rocket play extremely safe. Absolutely does not want to get caught for whatever reason.
The thing to keep in mind,
burst.
If Daimao dies on hook and Rocket and Karma leave, this game is tied. If they are able to save Daimao, then they can still win this, the Survivors of Aeternum. But Wispy needs to secure another down onto either Rocket or Karma, and then also have Daimao die on hook. But it's so risky for him to try and look actively for these survivors. It's almost a game of chicken. If you go looking for a survivor, they could be hovering hook and pull, and you lose. You can secure at least a tie here if you're Wispy, guaranteed essentially. Because even if they cleanse your Noed, they still can't play on the 1-for-1. But looks like Wispy is going to go ahead and try to cut off Rocket and possibly down here. He's going to find Karma instead, and that could be the death onto Karma. If Karma gets down here and Rocket gets pushed out, this is a win for Wispy.
Oh, this is not good. The positioning of Karma makes it so difficult for the rest of Aeternum to just safely leave and get the tie. And now both survivors are forced to be playing around this main building. They can't go for the door, not safely. They do get the pull into timeout though.
They get the pull, but if Rocket goes down here again with the Noed and if Rocket goes down here, I think this is still a win con for Wispy because Rocket's fresh.
Oh yeah, if Rocket goes down here at all, that is going to be the win for Team Tremor. So you have to keep him up. But he goes down.
Yeah, and we saw the Ace, and I believe Ace might have been hovering with the Beamer, but Wispy can just play around this. Karma kind of hovering. I'm not sure what his game plan is here. Maybe setting up for a head-on in case Wispy goes in, but no, this is going to be a hook on the outside, and with this hook coming in onto Rocket, this is the win con in of itself because this is 4th fresh. So even though the hook stages are the same, Wispy has to sure to win here. He can just leave if he wants, and it does not matter. As we do see another survivor hovering for a save, but, you know, with 2 injuries and Noed active on top of that, there's nothing they can do.
It is a bit unfortunate. We're gonna keep going until this game plays out in its entirety. And Karma has already left. I imagine Daimao will be doing the same. Wispy just having some fun, tossing some bottles around. He is not going to let anyone get Rocket out. I'm kind of curious to see what Daimao is up to, though.
It's very possible he was getting the other door. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
true.
Or maybe he's going.
Oh, he's gone.
Okay, he's out. Okay.
He's gone.
This is a statement set from Tremor, not happy with the way things went last weekend. You know, wanting to put their name out there. It's like, no, we are actually here to play. We are here to win. And Eternal's going to have to, well, first, Aonix is going to have to watch out for them as that's going to be their next opponent right after this match. So with that securing the 2-0 for Tremor, we will be going to another match later today between the winners of these sets. So it will be Tremor versus Aonix with a different killer set.